As the gates of prison swing open, a chilling reality awaits society: the release of some of the most dangerous and unpredictable minds. This video delves into the disturbing world of these offenders, exploring their backgrounds, motivations, and the potential threat they pose upon their reintegration into society. From hardened criminals to psychologically damaged individuals, we examine the factors that have shaped their lives and the challenges they face in navigating the complexities of the outside world. Jeffrey Maria. Today, we delve into the chilling tale of Jeffrey Maria, a teenager at the time who was convicted of double murder and how he is about to be released on parole. This is a story that will send shivers down your spine and make you question the very foundations of our justice system. So buckle up, because we're about to take you on a roller coaster ride of emotions as we uncover the shocking details surrounding Jeffrey Maria's impending release. Get ready, because this is a story you won't soon forget. It was a crime that shocked an entire community, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. Jeffrey Maria, along with his accomplices Marty Spears, Ronald Anderson, and Darren Lee, embarked on a night of unimaginable horror that would forever change the lives of the innocent victims, Philip and Kathy Ranzo. The Ranzo family lived a quiet and peaceful life in their Modesto home. Little did they know that their lives were about to be brutally cut short by a group of ruthless teenagers. Jeffrey Maria, just a teenager at the time, joined forces with his friends in a sinister plan that would haunt the community for years to come. On that fateful night, they ambushed the Ranzo family, subjecting them to unspeakable acts of violence and terror. The details of the crime are too gruesome to mention, but it suffices to say that the Ranzo family endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of these heartless individuals. The brutality of the crime sent shockwaves throughout the community, leaving everyone in a state of disbelief and fear. Justice was swift, and the four perpetrators were sentenced to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole. It seemed like the community could finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that these monsters would never see the light of day again. However, the story took an unexpected turn when their sentences were later re-sentenced to serve 2 consecutive life sentences with the possibility of parole. This decision sparked outrage and disbelief among the Ranzo family and the community at large. The Ranzo family, still grappling with the immense pain and loss, fought tooth and nail to keep these criminals behind bars. Their pleas fell on deaf ears as Jeffrey Maria's parole was granted for the 4th time in 2023, a decision that sent shockwaves through the community once again. Despite the objections from the Ranzo family, Governor Gavin Newsom referred the final decision back to California's parole board, which ruled in favor of Maria's release. This decision left the community in disbelief and the Ranzo family questioning the very foundations of our justice system. The Ranzo family, still haunted by the memories of that tragic night, expressed their grief and concerns about the safety of the community upon Maria's release. Their pain and anguish serve as a stark reminder of the lasting impact that this heinous crime has had on their lives. Special Prosecutor Beth DeJong, who fought tirelessly to keep these 4 killers behind bars, criticized the decision, stating that it is a failure of the state's criminal justice reform. Her words echo the sentiments of many who believe that justice has not been fully served. And now, as the day of Jeffrey Maria's release draws near, the community braces itself for the unknown. What lies ahead for this once convicted criminal? The decision to grant parole was met with shock and disbelief, not only from the Ranzo family, but also from the community at large. How could a man responsible for such heinous crimes be given a chance at freedom? Governor Gavin Newsom, faced with the weight of this decision, referred it back to California's parole board. The fate of Jeffrey Maria now rested in their hands. After careful consideration, the parole board ruled in favor of Maria's release, a decision that sent shockwaves through the community. The Ranzo family's pleas for justice seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. The Ranzo family, still reeling from the pain of their loss, expressed their grief and concerns about the safety of the community. Their voices joined those of many who believed that this decision was a failure of the state's criminal justice reform. Special Prosecutor Beth DeJong, who fought tirelessly to keep these 4 killers behind bars, criticized the decision, highlighting the flaws in the system that allowed Maria's release. Her words resonated with those who felt that justice had not been served. Legal experts and analysts weighed in on the controversial decision, sparking heated debates about the effectiveness of the parole system and the rights of victims versus the rights of offenders. As the community grapples with the impending release of Jeffrey Maria, questions linger. Will he be able to reintegrate into society? Can he truly be rehabilitated? And most importantly, what does this decision mean for the safety of the community? The exact conditions of Jeffrey Maria's parole, including his place of residence and any restrictions, have not been disclosed by the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR. However, what we do know is that Maria's wife has confirmed that they have purchased a home in Sacramento and have transitional housing in place to assist with his reintegration into society. While the details of Maria's parole remain shrouded in secrecy, the Ranzo family has been granted stay-away orders for the duration of his 3-year parole. This is a small comfort for them as they continue to grapple with the immense pain and loss caused by Maria's actions. The Ranzo family, still haunted by the memories of that tragic night, has expressed their deep concerns about the safety of the community upon Maria's release. They fear that he may pose a threat to society, and their grief is compounded by the knowledge that justice has not been fully served. Legal experts and analysts have weighed in on the conditions of Maria's parole, questioning whether they are sufficient to ensure the safety of the community. The delicate balance between rehabilitation and public safety is at the forefront of this debate. Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to refer the parole decision back to the parole board has left many wondering about the accountability and responsibility of those in power. The impact of this decision extends far beyond the Ranzo family, affecting the entire community. The impending release of Jeffrey Maria has sparked protests and community meetings as concerned citizens come together to voice their fears and demand justice. The wounds inflicted by Maria's actions are still fresh, and the community is left grappling with the uncertainty of what lies ahead. As the day of Maria's release draws near, the community holds its breath, hoping that the necessary precautions have been taken to ensure their safety. The story of Jeffrey Maria serves as a stark reminder of the flaws within our justice system and the lasting impact of violent crimes on the lives of victims and their loved ones. And there you have it, the shocking tale of Jeffrey Maria, a convicted double murderer, soon to be released on parole. In this video, we have explored the background and crimes committed by Maria, the parole battle that ensued, and the controversial decision that granted him his freedom. We hope that through discussions and actions, we can work towards a justice system that prioritizes the safety and well-being of the community while still offering opportunities for rehabilitation. The story of Jeffrey Maria is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can reside within individuals and the need for a justice system that strikes a delicate balance between punishment and rehabilitation. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. In this section, we delve into the unbelievable tale of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a young woman who is about to be released back into society. But this is no ordinary release. Gypsy's story is one of deception, manipulation, and a desperate bid for freedom. From a young age, Gypsy's life was controlled by her mother, who fabricated a series of illnesses, leading to dire diagnoses and medical interventions. However, the truth about Gypsy and her mother only came to light when Gypsy orchestrated a horrifying act that would change her life forever. So, buckle up and prepare to be shocked as we uncover the astonishing details of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's impending release. Let's dive in. In the quiet town of Springfield, Missouri, a young girl named Gypsy Rose Blanchard grew up under the watchful eye of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. But what seemed like a loving and devoted relationship was far from the truth. From the moment Gypsy was born in 1991, Dee Dee began a twisted game of deception. She claimed that her precious daughter was plagued by a series of debilitating illnesses, leading to a life filled with dire diagnoses and medical interventions: sleep apnea, leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, asthma, hearing and visual impairments. The list of ailments that Dee Dee related about her daughter seemed never-ending. Gypsy was prescribed a litany of medications, underwent multiple surgeries, and was even confined to a wheelchair, requiring a feeding tube for sustenance. But here's the shocking truth. Gypsy wasn't unwell. Her mother had been lying about her symptoms all along. Experts believe that Dee Dee's behavior stemmed from a mental disorder known as Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a rare and disturbing condition where a caregiver, in this case, Dee Dee feigns or induces illness in another person, often a child, to gain attention and sympathy for being a devoted caretaker. It's a chilling form of manipulation that can have devastating consequences. Dee Dee appeared to be a charming and caring mother, and her fabricated tales of Gypsy's illnesses were believed by many. Medical tests often showed inconclusive or contradictory results, but Dee Dee would quickly dismiss any doubts and stop seeing doctors who questioned her daughter's ailments. Dee Dee's background in nursing allowed her to accurately describe symptoms and even administer medication to mimic certain conditions. She had a way of convincing caregivers and medical professionals to go along with her narrative, further perpetuating the deception. As Gypsy grew older, she became increasingly aware of the lies her mother had woven around her, but she was trapped, conditioned to believe that no one would believe her if she spoke out. Gypsy's life was a constant cycle of manipulation and control. As Gypsy Rose Blanchard grew older, she became increasingly desperate to break free from her mother's control. She longed for a life outside the confines of her fabricated illnesses and the constant monitoring of Dee Dee. In 2011, Gypsy saw a glimmer of hope when she met a man online. They connected over shared interests and formed a deep bond. Gypsy confided in him about her mother's actions, revealing the truth behind the web of lies. This man, Nicholas Godejohn, became Gypsy's confidant and ally. He listened to her story, empathized with her plight, and together they hatched a plan that would change their lives forever. In an attempt to escape her mother's clutches, Gypsy decided to run away with Nicholas. In 2011, they fled together, hoping to find solace and freedom from the oppressive grip of Dee Dee. However, their escape was short-lived. Dee Dee, relentless in her pursuit, tracked them down through mutual acquaintances. She convinced those she made a desperate plea. She asked him to kill Dee Dee, believing that it was the only way they could be together and finally escape the clutches of her manipulative mother. In June 2015, Nicholas Godejohn arrived at Gypsy's house, armed with a knife. Gypsy waited anxiously in the bathroom, her ears covered, as the horrifying act unfolded. The murder of Dee Dee Blanchard sent shockwaves through the community, and the truth about the years of deception and abuse began to unravel. Gypsy and Nicholas fled to his home in Wisconsin, where they were eventually apprehended by the authorities. The murder of Dee Dee Blanchard sent shockwaves through the community and captivated the attention of the public. As the truth about the years of deception and abuse began to emerge, people were left questioning how such a twisted tale could unfold right under their noses. Many wondered why Gypsy had gone to such extreme measures instead of simply exposing her mother's lies. But the truth was far more complex. Gypsy had been conditioned to believe that no one would believe her, that she had no one to trust. Gypsy's entire life had been controlled and monitored by her mother. She was denied a normal childhood, forbidden from attending school, and her mother even altered her birth certificate to make her seem younger than she was. Despite the shocking nature of the crime, Gypsy's lawyer was able to present evidence of the abuse she had endured throughout her life. Medical records documented the countless unnecessary treatments and surgeries Gypsy had been subjected to. With the documented abuse in hand, Gypsy's lawyer was able to arrange a plea deal. Gypsy pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, due to the nature of her upbringing and the manipulation she had endured, her sentence was reduced. Gypsy's case shed light on the devastating effects of Munchausen syndrome by proxy and the importance of recognizing and intervening in cases of abuse. It sparked a national conversation about the signs and consequences of this rare mental disorder. As Gypsy prepares to be released back into society, many questions remain. How will she navigate a world that she was sheltered from for so long? Will she be able to rebuild her life and find a sense of normalcy? Gypsy's story serves as a chilling reminder of the lengths some individuals will go to manipulate and control others. It is a cautionary tale that highlights the importance of vigilance and support for those who may be trapped in abusive situations. Leslie Van Houten. Leslie Van Houten, a former member of the notorious Manson family, has been released back into society on parole after spending 53 years in custody. This shocking development has sparked widespread debate and controversy. Van Houten's involvement in the brutal murders of a married couple in their Los Angeles home in 1969 has left an indelible mark on American history. Now, in her 70s, Van Houten is faced with the daunting task of reintegrating into a society that has drastically changed during her time behind bars. As she navigates the challenges of adjusting to life outside prison walls, questions arise about the nature of rehabilitation, the limits of parole, and the potential risks associated with granting freedom to someone with such a dark past. Join us as we delve into the story of Leslie Van Houten's release and explore the implications it holds for our society. Leslie Van Houten's journey into darkness began in the late 1960s when she became entangled in the web of Charles Manson, a charismatic cult leader who manipulated his followers into committing heinous acts. Manson convinced his followers that a race war between blacks and whites was imminent, and these brutal killings were necessary to ignite the flames of this impending conflict. It was the summer of 1969 when Manson's cult members embarked on a horrifying killing spree that would send shockwaves through the nation. Leslie Van Houten, then just 19 years old, was one of the individuals who fell under Manson's spell and participated in these gruesome acts. On the fateful night of August 9, 1969, Van Houten, along with fellow Manson followers Patricia Krenwinkel and Charles Tex Watson, arrived at the Los Angeles home of Rosemary and Leno LaBianca. What transpired within those walls would forever stain the pages of history. Van Houten held Rosemary LaBianca down as Krenwinkel and Watson unleashed a wave of violence upon the unsuspecting couple. The air was thick with terror as the Manson family carried out their gruesome acts. Van Houten, fueled by Manson's twisted ideology, repeatedly stabbed Rosemary LaBianca, her hands covered in the blood of an innocent victim. In years of testimony and interviews, Van Houten revealed the chilling details of that night. She admitted to holding Rosemary down as her life was brutally taken away. The LaBianca's teenage son would later discover his father's lifeless body, a knife lodged in his neck, a carving fork protruding from his stomach, and the word "war" carved into his skin. The aftermath of these senseless killings sent shockwaves through the community, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. The LaBianca murders came shortly after the Manson family's brutal slaying of actress Sharon Tate and several others. Van Houten, feeling left out from the previous attack, eagerly participated in the next act of violence, driven by a desire to prove her loyalty to Manson and his deranged vision. Van Houten's arrest in November 1969 marked the beginning of a long and tumultuous legal journey. After years of court proceedings and reversals, she was ultimately sentenced to 7 years to life in prison, convicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy. The California Board of Parole hearings recommended Van Houten for parole 5 times, starting in 2016. However, Governor Gavin Newsom and former Governor Jerry Brown overturned these decisions, citing the heinous nature of the crimes and the perceived threat to public safety. Despite the repeated denials, Van Houten's perseverance and dedication to rehabilitation did not waver. She actively engaged in self-help and substance abuse programs, took on volunteer work, and maintained a commendable disciplinary record. Van Houten's transformation behind bars was nothing short of remarkable. In her account, Van Houten revealed the turbulent teenage years that led her down a destructive path. She became a heavy user of LSD and other drugs at the tender age of 14, following her parents' divorce. At 17, she found herself pregnant, coerced by her mother into getting an illegal and unmedicated abortion in their own home. These personal struggles and vulnerabilities made her susceptible to Manson's manipulations, ultimately leading her to participate in these horrific acts. Van Houten's story serves as a chilling reminder of the power of manipulation and the consequences of falling into the clutches of a charismatic and dangerous leader. The court ruled that there were no grounds for her continued incarceration and that she should be released. This decision has reignited the debate surrounding Van Houten's release and raised questions about applying the law and the role of public opinion. The court's ruling emphasized Van Houten's detailed accounting of the circumstances that led her to fall under Manson's thrall. It also highlighted her expressions of regret for not leaving before the cult enacted their grisly and violent murders. The court argued that the governor's refusal to accept Van Houten's explanation amounted to unsupported intuition. The recent state appeals court ruling has left many wondering about the limits of parole and the potential risks associated with granting freedom to individuals with such a dark past. It has also sparked a broader conversation about the need for rehabilitation and the possibility of redemption, even in the most extreme cases. Supporters of Van Houten's release argue that her story serves as a testament to the power of rehabilitation and personal growth. They believe that she has paid her dues and should be given a chance to reintegrate into society as a productive and law-abiding citizen. Critics, however, maintain that the severity of the crimes committed by Van Houten and the Manson family should forever bar them from re-entering society. They argue that the pain and suffering inflicted upon the victims' families cannot be undone, and releasing Van Houten would only compound their grief. As Leslie Van Houten prepares to step back into society, the debate surrounding her release continues to rage on. The recent state appeals court ruling has added a new layer of complexity to an already contentious issue. It raises questions about the role of the law, the limits of parole, and the potential for redemption in the face of unimaginable crimes. Colin Pitchfork. We delve into the dark and disturbing tale of convicted criminal Colin Pitchfork, who is soon to be released on parole. Prepare yourselves for a chilling journey as we uncover the horrifying details of Pitchfork's crimes and the controversial decision to grant him parole. From the quiet villages of Leicestershire to the courtroom drama that ensued, this story will leave you questioning the very foundations of our justice system. Join us as we explore the shocking truth behind Colin Pitchfork's impending release and the impact it will have on the victims' families and society as a whole. Get ready for a roller coaster of emotions as we dive into this gripping and unsettling tale. Let's begin. In the quiet villages of Leicestershire, a sinister presence lurked, preying on the innocence of young girls. His name was Colin Pitchfork, a name that would forever be etched in the annals of criminal history. Today, we delve into the dark and chilling past of this convicted criminal, whose impending release on parole has sent shockwaves through the nation. It was in the late 1980s when the lives of two young girls were tragically cut short, their dreams and aspirations snuffed out by the hands of a remorseless killer. The first victim, Linda Mann, was just 15 years old when she met her untimely demise. It was a cold November evening in 1983 when Linda's life took a horrifying turn. Linda was walking home alone after visiting a friend when she encountered her killer. Colin Pitchfork, then a man in his 20s, seized the opportunity to satisfy his twisted desires. He raped and strangled Linda, leaving her lifeless body discarded in a field. The shock and fear that gripped the village of Narborough were unparalleled. Parents clutched their children tightly, afraid to let them out of their sight. The police launched an intensive investigation, determined to bring the perpetrator to justice, but the truth remained elusive, and the case went cold. The community lived in constant fear, haunted by the memory of Linda's tragic end. Little did they know that another innocent life would soon be claimed by the same hands of evil. In July 1986, the peaceful village of Enderby was about to be shattered by an unimaginable horror. Dawn Ashworth, a 15-year-old girl with her whole life ahead of her, fell victim to Colin Pitchfork's insatiable appetite for violence. Dawn was walking home from school when she crossed paths with Pitchfork. He lured her to a secluded location where he subjected her to a brutal assault. Dawn's life was mercilessly taken away, her dreams and aspirations forever extinguished. The similarities between Linda Mann's and Dawn Ashworth's murders did not go unnoticed. The police realized they were dealing with a serial killer, a predator who had no regard for the sanctity of life. The pressure to solve these heinous crimes mounted, and the community demanded justice. It was through groundbreaking advancements in DNA profiling that the net began to close in on Colin Pitchfork. In September 1987, the police arrested him, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. Finally, the families of Linda and Dawn could breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that their daughter's killer would face the consequences of his actions. In January 1988, Colin Pitchfork was sentenced to life imprisonment, ensuring that he would never again walk the streets as a free man. The nation believed that justice had been served and that the nightmare was finally over. But little did they know know that the story of Colin Pitchfork was far from finished. The conviction of Colin Pitchfork brought a sense of closure to the families of Linda Mann and Dawn Ashworth, but little did they know that their torment would continue. In a shocking turn of events, Pitchfork was granted parole in June 2021, sparking outrage and disbelief among the public. The decision to release a man responsible for such heinous crimes sent shockwaves through the nation. How could someone with a history of violence and depravity be deemed fit for release? The victims' families, along with concerned citizens, rallied together, demanding justice and accountability. But their cries fell on deaf ears as the parole board stood by their decision. Colin Pitchfork was set to be released back into society, a prospect that sent chills down the spines of those who remembered the horrors he had inflicted. However, the relief felt by Pitchfork was short-lived. Just a few months after his release, in November 2021, he was recalled to prison for breaching his license conditions. The parole board had deemed him a risk to society once again, a decision that validated the fears and concerns of those who opposed his release. The details of Pitchfork's breach were not disclosed to the public, but it was clear that he had violated the terms of his release. The nation breathed a sigh of relief, knowing this dangerous individual was back behind bars. The recall raised questions about the effectiveness of the parole system and the measures in place to monitor and rehabilitate criminals. How could someone with such a violent past slip through the cracks? The public demanded answers, and the parole board faced scrutiny like never before. As the parole board reviewed their decision, Pitchfork remained in prison, his fate hanging in the balance. The victims' families, scarred by the memories of their loved ones' brutal deaths, anxiously awaited the outcome. Would justice prevail, or would Pitchfork be granted parole once again? The parole board's decision to grant Pitchfork parole for a second time in June 2023 shocked the nation once again. The public was left questioning the integrity of the justice system, wondering how a man with such a dark and violent past could be considered for release. However, this time, the decision is currently being reconsidered. The parole board, under immense pressure from the public and the victims' families, must carefully weigh the risks and potential consequences of releasing Pitchfork back into society. As the nation holds its breath, the victims' families continue to fight for justice, determined to ensure that their loved ones' lives are not lost in vain. The memory of Linda Mann and Dawn Ashworth lives on, a reminder of the devastating impact of Pitchfork's actions. If you enjoyed this video, check out our other awesome videos on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.